Congratulations, we have now made it to our final chapter for this course. Chapter 13, we are discussing compensating the flexible workforce, contingent employees, and flexible work schedules. This economy today, the workforce today, has changed dramatically from 10, 15, 20 years ago. Our contingent and flexible workforce schedules have grown tremendously. We have so many individuals that are working multiple part-time jobs, working flexible work schedules in order to make ends meet. And employers are finding it more difficult to pay the benefits and all of the compensation packages that come along with full-time employment. So our workforce is changing. These are things that we need to be aware of. First of all, let's go ahead and define our 4 categories of contingent workers. The first being part-time employees. Part-time employees, there are 2 types of part-time employees. The first is a voluntary part-time employee. That is someone that is choosing to work less than 35 hours a week. And then there's the involuntary part-time employee that doesn't have the option, is only being offered less than 35 hours a week. Then there is job sharing. That is a type of contingent workforce where you have 2 or more part-time individuals that are sharing one full-time role. This can also be an example of a flexible work schedule. You might have individuals that are interested, maybe parents that are swapping careers. They're trying to juggle being a parent at home with children. They're also trying to work. You can have 2 people that are job sharing or working from home. It makes it much more feasible to balance both of those. Temporary workers, those are our seasonal workers, seasonal firefighters, people that come on board with organizations in the holidays, extra seasonal help. They're only hired for a certain period of time, not a permanent full-time position. Then you have leased employee arrangements. Sounds a little bit different, kind of reminds me of leasing a vehicle. Then an example of this would be some of our local human resource organizations that you'll see advertised. People that specialize in payroll services, recruitment. We're actually paying the organization to take care of this service for us. That's an example of a leased workforce. And then finally, independent contractors, freelancers, and consultants. That is very prevalent in different types of industries. You have individuals, photographers, people in the arts, different types of organization where an individual can really create their own schedule, they create their own pay, and they work and choose jobs when they want to. But it does make for a limited work schedule at times, and it doesn't come along with all of the benefits that full-time employment does. So why are we finding a rise in the contingent workforce? Well, there are economic recessions that are really affecting a lot of organizations, and they can't keep full-time employees on board. They're finding it more profitable to have multiple part-time employees. There's international competition. The health insurance costs are tremendous, and that is one of the big factors that really makes it very limiting for an organization. Instead of having 40 full-time employees, they can have 80 part-time employees and pay half of the health insurance costs. But employees are finding that if they have one part-time job with no health insurance, and they need at least 2 or 3 part-time jobs in order to make ends meet. So it is a changing workforce. It really depends on the different positions that you're in. You don't find as many of these jobs in teachers or electricians, mechanics. Some of those still tend to be full-time regular positions, but we have other industries, contractors, drivers, construction workforce that is much more reliant on the contingent workforce. So we have a lot of federal compensation guidelines that organizations are bound to, different rules and regulations that we need to make sure that we work and employ a certain amount of hours, or we have to offer insurance. We might have a part-time employee that receives a higher wage than full-time in order to compensate for that lack of insurance benefits. Something to keep in mind. As we are looking through the chapter, we start talking about flexible work schedules. Some of you might already be participating in a flexible work schedule. That can be anything from working 9-8-80s, where you have every other one day off every other week, working 4-10s. That's very popular in healthcare. You work 4 days, 10 hours a day, and then you have 3 days off in a row. Flex time is when you have set weekly times, not daily hours. So you can sign a contract, you can be an employee that says, I will work 40 hours in a week, but there's no set time. So you might work 12 hours one day, 4 hours another day. As long as it maxes into 40 hours a week, you're done. Compressed work weeks. That is an example of our 4-10s. So instead of working 8 hours, 5 days a week, you can crunch them into 4 days, 4-10s, 10, 10, 10, 10. You're done with your 40 hours in a week. Telecommuting, that's when we have employees that are working both on-site and off-site. This can be very beneficial to an employee because they might be able to get more done at home, or if they have the ability to work from home 3 days a week, pay for less daycare, and then it's cheaper for the employer because they might have someone share an office. They have less overhead of people that are in their office the entire time. Telecommuting arrangements, different types that the textbook highlights. You might have individuals that work strictly from home, people that work out in the field, people that work one day in the office, some people that work internationally and they never actually set foot in the office. But with today's growing international field, we can do a lot of these things. Of course, the union has something to say about this, right? We have learned that unions are very important in different types of industries and that their overall baseline is they're looking out for the overall welfare and health of our employees. What are some concerns that the union might have for our contingent or flexible work schedule employees? Well, we have a lot of employees that are not receiving the benefits that they might need in order to be successful because organizations are offering them less. That is certainly a concern. And the union really grows strength and power when they have a strong, centralized workforce. If you have a company with 200 employees, but we never have more than 10 to 15 in one area at a time, it's hard to really gather that momentum and that strength in order to keep the union strong. So that's how this chapter wraps up. Sorry, this lecture took a little bit longer than usual, but you already made it through 13 chapters. You did a tremendous job. Great job this semester. Make sure that you finish up with all of your assignments. Let me know how you're doing. Good job.